You're listening to the Good News Podcast with Jamie Holtom, brought to you by NBUC.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Good News Podcast with Jamie Holtom. Again, we're so excited that you've chosen to join us today. We have an episode that I think you're going to be so glad that you're listening to and entering into. We are going to interview Ryan Agard, a Brampton firefighter. Ever wondered what it's like to be a firefighter? I know I sure have. Ryan's going to talk about that, both the highs and the lows, the challenges and the joys. Ryan also wrote an incredibly powerful and real letter to the Brampton Fire Department over the course of this past year about his own experience of racism as a black man growing up, but also even now as a firefighter. Get ready to be inspired and encouraged as Ryan shares with grace and humility a very important conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome, everybody, to the Good News Podcast. So glad that you could join us today. You are in for a treat. I'm going to introduce you to a very good friend and colleague of mine, Ryan Agard. Ryan is a Brampton firefighter. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today. How are things going for you these days in the midst of this pandemic?
You know what? Everything's good. Thank God. Thanks for having me today. I can't complain. Everyone's healthy. Kids are all in school. So God's been gracious. God's been good. So
right on.
Everything's good.
Yeah, right on. Totally hear you. And Ryan, love to start with just life as a firefighter, because I think many of us, and when I say colleague as introducing Ryan, I'm just so privileged and grateful to be the chaplain with the Brampton Fire Department, and what an honor that is. And I know many people ask me, what is it like to be a firefighter? I said, well, I don't really know. I'm the chaplain. I'm privileged to be that, but I just think there's this mystery, but also curiosity on what life is like as a firefighter. So yeah, would you just share a little bit about maybe even why you went into firefighting, Ryan? And then I'd love to talk about what life is like as a firefighter, the highs, the lows, the challenges, the highlights.
Well, basically many years ago, I can say many years ago now, it's just kind of the ideal that about helping out community. It plays into my strengths as far as even physical. I'm somebody who's more people oriented, and just part of a team, which I was used to all my life, playing sports and participating in different things. And you learn how to share. You learn how to be a team person, and coming from a big family that also plays into it, so it just kind of tied into my strengths and who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I'm very blessed to be able to have a career that did that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And what are some of the, 'cause I think people think of just the glamour, if you will, of being a firefighter. What are some of the challenges that are part of the job of being a firefighter?
Well, again, part of the challenge is you're basically living in a house, running calls with people. It can be a strength, but it also can be a weakness. At the same token, you're in this house with somebody for 24 hours. So, if you have a busy day, and we're all human beings, so a busy day, you might not be as patient at some point, and then you just got to learn how to be patient with each other and kind of deal with each other. But that's one challenge. Also, the obvious challenge, you're running calls, life-saving calls, so you're coming together as a team. You're basically taking chaos and being asked to organize it, and part of that challenge also would be the quick decision making.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about going to work every day and not really knowing what you're going to come across, that's a reality for you, Ryan, and being a firefighter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zero preparation time.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
like, here it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Here it is. What are you going to do?
Well, on behalf of many people in our city, I just want to say thanks to you and to our Brampton Fire Department. People may not realize this, but we really do have one of the best departments in the country, and we lead the way in many ways. And just want to say thanks for that. Let alone just protecting and keeping us safe, and going to work every day and not knowing the tragedies that you might have to help people through on every call that you get. So thanks, Ryan, so much for that. What are some of the highlights when you think about the best things about being a firefighter? And you never know, like there's a variety of different people who will be listening to this, or some will be watching it on YouTube. Some may be thinking about what path they want to take. And I know we're always trying to recruit the best people for our Brampton Fire Department. So who knows who might hear this and be inspired today. What are some of the things that are the highlights, or what you love the most about being a Brampton firefighter?
I love the team atmosphere, the camaraderie. Um, y- you know, because of the nature of our job, uh, the types of calls we go on, it lends itself to really making sure you're dealing with someone that you can trust. So that will lend itself off the job where, we're basically putting each other's lives in each other's hands. So we better make sure that we know each other, we trust each other, that we can communicate. So I'd say that's a big thing, is that you get around a good crew, and they really do become like a second family. And,
Yeah.
you know, like we're giving each other life advice and helping each other out. So that's part of it. And also just to be able to, again, take something that's very challenging and come together as a team. We've helped the citizen. We've just helped make somebody's day,
Yeah.
help a terrible situation get better,
Oh,
which is fantastic.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. And everyone who I talked to who, like yourself, really did feel called to become a firefighter. Every time I always hear them say, in some way, shape, or form, they felt the desire to help people. And I think that's at the heart of the call to be a firefighter. And you use the word family. That's been my experience. That's part of the privilege of I can't speak enough about what a joy and privilege it is to be chaplain with the department. The family element, you really do feel like brothers and sisters, and I see that support. We see that support at all kinds of levels through the department. So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Ryan, one of the things that's happened over the course of this year is you wrote a letter to the department that, again, the senior level administration certainly received, and we're very I think grateful and encouraging of sharing this letter with the whole department. We're talking, I think, close to 500 people within the department, or more, and it was really just being real about some of your experiences as a Black man, and trying to live in a world where we're understanding the idea of white privilege more than ever before. I mean, things really broke open after the George Floyd situation last spring. I think probably bringing conversations that should have always been happening, but you really took a big courageous step, I think, in writing and sending that letter. And I know we were so glad to have you as part of our Sunday service there back in September 13th. If anyone wants to go look it up, it was one of the most powerful services that we've ever had here at North Bramley United Church. And again, just thank you for that, Ryan. And just wanted to kind of follow up and see what are some of the conversations that have come from that, some of the encounters. What's been happening, as people receive that letter and just got a sense of a bit more of your story and experience, not just with the department, but even in growing up as well. Mm-hmm.
Well, again, thank you. And again, we talk about Brampton Fire being a family.
Yeah.
This is where uh, our good friendship has started, is through
Mm-hmm.
this. So, again, this is great to have the opportunity to share.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say since the letter, it's funny that one of the other firefighters, uh, another minority, He's come to me. He's like, "What did you say to people? Everyone's being a lot nicer around here lately."
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So he kind of said it in jest, but he said, "No, seriously. Like people are nicer. There's a little more understanding, you know." So he's saying, What'd you say to everybody?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, I just shared who I am and um, how I got to this point, and um, I have noticed, yeah, and then even for myself,
Mm.
maybe when you want to shy away from certain topics of conversation, certain things, and you come across it, and people are more understanding and more they don't take it as being confrontational or militant, and good productive conversations
Mm.
come out of it. Actually, ironically enough, the other day at work, one of uh, someone on my crew, a white member, and came up and started a conversation just out of curiosity on something. So, we were able to
Wow.
discuss things. That's been a great thing, a lot more openness.
Yeah.
Um, and also the other good thing that I didn't really um, bank on that would happen is other people that have shared their negative stories and have felt the
Mm.
openness and the ability to share with me, and we've been able to get through and solve some things, and either that be with their families or themselves with issues of race. So they've just felt a sense of relief, because a lot of people have is caused some stress, and some people have said
Mhm.
that they've had these feelings, these problems pent up, and they've taken it home and have caused issues within their home. And a couple of them had even said they had thought about resigning, which to me is heartbreaking. Is just
Yeah.
such an awesome career uh, in the fire service. That
Yeah.
so that
And
from
it,
that
and it-
part, I'm very very grateful that
yeah.
being able to help people. And it's not just a letter. I look at it that I put myself out there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so I'm here to help anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything.
Absolutely. And that's amazing. I think that's one of the best things that we can do. Want to talk before we're done today, just what are some concrete ways that we can try to move forward together to really bring racial justice and equality. But opening up that conversation, Ryan, that just seems to be one of the best places to start. And that's very encouraging that both people who would be white and maybe name the white privilege that we have could talk to you openly about some things that maybe they wouldn't have been able to before that letter, but also people of diversity to express some of the challenges that they've had. I'm just curious, with putting the letter out there, did you have any negative things happen? Any I don't know if backlash is the right word, but did anything negative come of it? Yeah, just curious.
Um, Directly, no. Um, I have had people tell me that they've heard underhanded comments um, behind their back, and actually, one of ironically enough, a white member that through this we've kind of struck a friendship. It really, I guess, struck a nerve, and he really has said, if we form any committees, I want to be on it. I really am a
Mm.
believer in what you're saying, and he shared with me some things that happened, including one person reading my letter and kind of going off and going on some sort of a rant.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you write something that's a truth. Some people are going to accept it. Some people are not. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's fine. That's up to them, and God bless them, and
Yeah.
you know, and they understand where I'm coming from and what we're talking about, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
pain they have, hopefully God heals it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, Ryan, I just you're such a I love the beautiful spirit that you have. Just so appreciate that about you. I love that um, that negative response, if it were to happen, isn't deterring you from continuing to open up this conversation. I think for that's really important for people to hear. that sometimes we just have to have these conversations with great love, as you say, and even prayer for healing for those that aren't able to have those conversations yet, but to open it up and not to be afraid of what kind of reaction or response we're going to get. Oh man, I'm so proud of you, and
Thanks.
yeah, grateful to have you as a friend. But yeah, so much. It's Black History Month, and so just love to talk a bit about that. Does that impact the fire department or some of the work that you're doing in any ways? Yeah, just wanted to check in around this month of being Black History Month and what that might mean for the fire department.
Um, well, I know I've had some different discussions with people in different divisions within the city, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it kind of puts a downer on any plans that
Yeah,
were to be made. But when we thought we'd be out of the lockdown prior to February, then yeah, we were talking about events and inviting different representatives within the city just to educate them. And one of the other things is just knowing a lot of the local Black history, different politicians and different uh, people within that have done great things. And one evening, I was invited to be on a conference call, and some of these people spoke. It was very powerful. Many times we think about Black history, we'll think about um, Dr. Martin Luther King or Lincoln
hmm
Alexander, but we have people within our midst, within the city of Brampton, that have done great things and have strived. So it was very interesting, and that's one of the things that we were talking about, focusing a lot on low people who have done great things.
yeah. Love it. Just an opportunity to lift up more local stories and examples of that too, eh? Which is cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know it's way more than Black History Month as far as what the Brampton Fire Department's trying to do to work towards greater diversity and racial equality. What are some of the things that are happening on more of an ongoing basis? Maybe out of the response to what happened last year, where this conversation really got elevated and rightfully so. My sense is that we as a department have been doing things before that as well, though. But yeah, it'd be great. I think, Ryan, this is called the Good News Podcast, right? And I
Yeah.
think I think for people to hear some of the systems that are in place within the department, or being some of the systems that are being put in place, what's happening on an ongoing basis, that would be good news for people to hear around trying to bring racial justice and diversity within our department and our city.
Well, part of it, nothing happens unless those in charge want it to happen, and I got to continue to give credit to our leadership, Chief
Yeah.
Bill Boys, right from the start, has been supportive and totally understanding, and we've had many really good conversations. We're very fortunate, we're very blessed to have him as chief.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he's not just allowed me to speak, but even beyond the letter, we've had discussions on and being able to talk to different members on what we would like to see, what we would like done, and again, true to the man of his word that he is. We've worked on different things. They've taken our suggestions, they've taken it to HR. So extremely progressive. Our fire management team, they've been continue to be supportive, and that's the thing that I like. It's not just being the letter and that's it. Okay, um, Ryan had to say okay, but it's taken a step
Yeah.
beyond. Like, how can we do better? How can we, within the Brampton Fire Service, help this problem and ensure that moving forward we're better. And we had the um, recruitment, so we geared that towards a Black community. Uh, because there is currently a lot underrepresentation of the Black community within the fire service. So
Yeah.
again, the management team, Chief Boys, saw the problem and had this this evening, which took a lot of preparation, a lot of time and effort, and they just continue to make. So
Yeah.
it's been great. All of us working together uh, towards, like you said, representation of the community.
Yeah.
Like that's we all make up. Brampton's extremely diverse, so as we work towards that, that's we want to see as representation within our fire service.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I would just echo the kudos, gratitude to Chief Bill Boyes and the administration, and yeah, very open to not only these conversations, but as you said, Ryan, walking the talk, not just talking about it, and really,
Exactly.
really seriously putting in systems that over time will continue to lead us to a new way and a new path. One of the things that I get to be a part of is Chief is put together a community group that brings together leaders from all kinds of different faith groups and nonprofit groups and just the diversity. We had one meeting in person before COVID happened, and it was just kind of getting this momentum. But what I love is kind of like what we're all trying to do is let's just not say what we can't do. Let's say what we can do. So there was even a call through the pandemic where we had to meet by Zoom, just like this. And it wasn't as good as being in the same room together, but at least it keeps the momentum going, and way better than nothing. I know that's a long-term commitment to bringing together people that are in different faiths and cultures and races and colors, and bring us together for a common cause, that is to bring safety and protection to our city, and work together on those things. And yeah, just to really appreciate the leadership that's coming from our Brampton Fire Department, and I think maybe setting almost a model for us, and look forward to more of that in the future.
I agree.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I know you're part of that too, eh, Ryan? Like, isn't it amazing to be on that call with all these different people? Yeah.
It is. It's great, and I know. Uh, Again, through this, I've had conversations with different Black firefighters who somehow, I guess, were aware that I wrote this letter, and since I've kept contact with some of them, and we've gotten comments about the career night that we had, and what Brampton's doing from firefighters out west, and Montreal. So it Brampton really is setting the lead on this. So
Yeah.
very very proud to see that.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's an angle that I hadn't thought of. Of course, like fire departments from across the country are connected and learning from each other, and so there's a model being set. And what a better place than Brampton for that to happen when, like as you said, we're such a diverse community. Yeah, just amazing. Ryan, I'm not really sure of what the numbers are, the percentages, and not to put you on the spot. So if you don't know, no problem either. But just within our department, I mean, I think we're close to 500 members. I believe is roughly where we're at. What, as far as the diversity and the numbers, percentages, any sense of what that would be like, and then maybe a little bit on what it's like for you to be a minority, within our department. We're working towards greater representation and diversity, but we also have to live within the reality that we're in right now, and what that's like for you. Mhm.
Um, well, compared to when I started, uh, much more diverse.
Cool.
You know, uh, as far as racially and uh, gender wise, there's a lot more women
Yeah. Yeah.
on the job. Um, we can do better, quite frank, and that's why we are putting these initiatives in place. Um, some groups are still underrepresented within the fire service, and that's what we're continuing to work on. Um, my vision and my goal, and I've shared it with the chief, is kind of about hitting it at different levels. So um, promoting firefighting as a career to university students. In particular, I've said university athletes, and not to say one is more qualified than the other, but you have university athletes who are used to team atmosphere. They're used to discipline. If you can balance your schooling with playing a sport, they're used to training and practicing. They're used to taking coaching. So, um, and sports tend to be more racially diverse
Yeah.
than most other things within our communities. So, uh, again, COVID has kind of put a halt on these type
Yeah.
of things, but then also hitting high school students, um, as that would kind of be the level at which young folks are considering careers and maybe never thought about firefighting, and maybe put the bug in your ear that, hey, this is a great career. This is you know um, we do some awesome things. We have teamwork. It's a secure
Yeah.
career, and then getting out, you know, into the community with young kids' activities, so that you hit future firefighters. So I've shared that with Chief Boys and others, and it's been well received. Um, but again, everything's kind of on
Yeah.
hold because of the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah, but that's brilliant. If you ask me, Ryan, that's a great strategy. I was reading in a John Maxwell leadership book recently, just about the importance of recruiting, and I think that's what you're talking about, recruiting. But to really almost like in sports, like you keep going with that analogy. There's scouts, right, who look for potential players, and I could see us moving towards just being more intentional about scouting out the younger generation who would be fits around all of these things that you just mentioned to make great
Exactly.
firefighters. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Exactly. And my and again, not to promote sports, but my experience with sports is growing up being coached and taught by you know white coaches, black coaches, different cultures, and me doing the same, having coached many years um, on my off time. It's ironic enough because different young men that I've coached over the years, I still keep in contact. They're in their 20s now. And I have one that calls me Pops. He's interested in firefighting. He's Filipino. So he'll call me his Filipino son. I have one that's white, blonde hair, blue eye. He calls me second dad. So he's interested in firefighting. Um, you know, I have, black kid that, says I'm like this, the father he's never had, so him
Yeah,
and I are very close. So ironically enough, it's funny, my own son's now starting to talk about firefighting, but this is a type of family atmosphere that I enjoy, and
yeah,
comes from, that culture comes from the fire hall. I tried to foster it in coaching, and realize that sports isn't the most important thing. It's about investing into people, and seeing where they come from, and
yeah,
seeing where they're going. And
yeah,
so it's amazing to see that through sports, through different things now, I can help them in their career, and help them in other facets of life.
yeah, yeah. No, and I love that you can bring those ideas forward to to the chief and to the administration, and just how where they're being received so well. It's a long haul, isn't it? It's the long term here that we're working at. I think
That's right.
when we're talking about systems and structures changing to bring that kind of equality and diversity and representation, it's going to take time, but we don't want to wait into getting at it. We want to get at it. Just like some of these things that you're talking about, Ryan. Yeah, that's beautiful. I just need to want to name. I've as a white male, I've recognized the privilege that I have through the conversations and through just the things that I know many of us have read over the course of this year. Again, the George Floyd situation, for whatever reason, COVID impact, we're all online more. I don't know. All of it has led to a heightened sensitivity and awareness, and so I want to name name that as your brother, as a follower of Jesus. We share a faith, and glad
Right.
for that. Not that everyone will who's listening to us, and that's okay too. Um, I just want to confess that and recognize that and try to work together. And I guess where I'm going at here is I think we who are white need to do our part and trying to be more aware of what that is, to open up these conversations, to recognize where things aren't just, and just in talking to some friends who are really really good friends who are from the Black community, just recognize, as I've heard in your story, Ryan, that letter that you shared, just tragic experiences in life that I didn't realize were true. I thought they were things that happened in other places, and so it's been a heavy, and I know the heaviness that I would feel is nothing compared to what someone like yourself has actually experienced. Um, but as we move forward, what are some of the things that we can encourage people to do? White people, Black people, people of all races, as we work on this together. Just any suggestions, any practical, advice, encouragement, yeah, of how we can really work on this together moving forward, even as churches. Like, what can faith communities do? Ryan, I know you've got lots of ideas just from talking before, and I love that, and just would love to hear some of those today.
It starts exactly what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
having a conversation. We're two friends
Hmm.
who are conversing about this, and you're open to hear and to learn experiences that I've gone through. And as we know, it doesn't have to be offensive or contentious. It's
Yeah.
just, the main thing about when I did write it, it's not about trying to debate any topics of policing, anything like that.
Hmm.
It's just sharing my experience as a Black man going through life and choosing a career, um, that you know at the time, you know 30 plus years ago, when I first thought about taking on this career, it was nobody who looked like me in the career. So you have that aspect. People say, well, you're crazy. Like, look at, you know look around you. Do you see anyone who looks like you doing this? So
Yeah.
you have that aspect. You have the aspect of trying to go through life, just trying to keep your nose clean and do the right thing. Um, and the systemic racism, which puts, obstacles in your way,
Hmm.
uh, unnecessarily and unfairly. So you have to navigate around that. So just this is a huge thing. Is
Yeah.
it, two friends and yourself, uh, leading a church conversation and allowing people to have their say. And again, it's not a debate. It's not up for debate. It's,
Yeah.
we're sharing facts
Yeah.
of what's gone on. And you know and we're looking, what can we do. Well, this is a huge part. Allowing conversation, um, asking questions, um, being cognizant that um, these things do exist,
Yeah.
and just educating others. you
Yeah.
know that's huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I know I agree, Ryan, in that sometimes it doesn't seem like much because we want to see change happen quicker than it is. But opening up these conversations, and there still are people who don't realize that this is true. Like, people aren't making this up. It's real. Like you said, this is true. These are the facts, and we need to be aware of them. And out of that, our hearts get broken, and change will continue to come. The other piece I think that you've mentioned here today, that continues to be a really big one in my mind, is to continue to promote or raise up diverse leadership who will be helping to make some of the decisions and actually create the systems. And as we evolve and shift there a little more, that also will continue, I think, that to help move us in the right direction. this is about equality at all levels and in a whole variety of ways. I love that you mentioned the movement within the Brampton Fire Department to have more equality around gender as well. And we want to see that. We've just come out of a very interesting time south of the border with all that's happened in the US. And I think one of the things that's encouraging for us all is to have a female vice president. And that's history in the making, literally. But we want to see more of that, of diverse leadership at all levels and in all ways. And it gets really exciting in some ways when we start to see that kind of change happen and what might be possible moving forward. So one more just piece before we close, Ryan. I could talk to you all day, and we got to have you back again because just I know I'm not the only one. People that are hearing this and watching
anytime
this
I enjoy spending time with you.
Hey, same, man, for sure. You are a person of faith, and so. And we recognize people could be listening to this or watching this who aren't, and that's okay. We always say at NBUC, we want to be a church where people can belong before they believe, and so no pressure on these kinds of things. But I know that from our conversations that deeply impacts where you're coming from and why you're bringing some of these conversations forward. And so just the role that your faith, your relationship with God plays in some of the work that you do, and specifically around this conversation, Ryan. Love to hear a bit about that.
Well, God is first and foremost, and thankfully, I was raised with parents of faith, which I believe, and it's right there in the letter. I believe without praying parents, some of these situations that thankfully I was able to get out of unscathed. I believe first and foremost that's parents as a father who's praying, who's interceding for God to watch over his children, and things that it shouldn't have came out okay. So that's first and foremost, and I pass it on, do the same, pray for my children and pray for their safety and pray that God would give them wisdom and in certain situations. And as far as this, it's about speaking truth. I mentioned in our conversation before that the Bible says we're all created in God's image. All of us. So we're God's children. He loves us all. No one more than the other. So all of our lives matter to him. So personally, then if my Heavenly Father says in his word that we're all his children, he loves us all the same, how could I have favoritism over one or the other? It's not godly behavior. It's not emulating who our Heavenly Father is. So it's that's where I believe it fundamentally wrong as a Christian, that any type of racism or favoritism is wrong. It can't be. That's impossible. That's not that's not the character of the God that we serve and that we profess to Lord to be our savior. It's impossible.
Yeah. No, so that's so well put, Ryan. So well put. This is where if you're a churchgoer, you might say amen, or maybe another way to that is like that's a really good mic drop right there. Like that's I love the way you've boiled it down to in such a simple way that God created us all, so we're all equal. End of story. Live into that, friends, man. Live into that, and all really will be well. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, that'll impact all of our decisions, our choices, our behaviors. All of us. Yeah.
And that's even I take that into my career, as a captain, as a leader within my station. Is I try and be intentional that it doesn't matter who, naturally, you might have more in common with one or the other, but they all got to know that I care about them the same on a professional level and a personal level. That's important. That's the character of the God I serve. I try and show that in practical ways. And, it breeds confidence as far as success within the station. It breeds confidence, so they know, hey, that I have their back, and it doesn't matter who they are, and I'm there for them. You know, um, and that's a form of godliness I try and bring into my
Yeah.
into my job.
Right on, right on. Well, you do it well, Ryan. You are such an inspiration. I know. You don't do it for any kind of glory, or just do it because this is who you are. And yeah, love it, and love you, and appreciate you. And thanks for being a part of the Good News podcast today, friends. Our hope, our prayer would be that you all would be inspired by what you've heard today, and encouraged to together, like we're in this together, to bring about racial justice and justice and equality in all ways. And that's good news, hopefully for all of us, and that we really can continue to live into that together. So thanks, Ryan, for being a part of the Good News podcast today. Everybody, thanks for joining us. God bless you, and pray that you are well, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ryan.
See you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Good News podcast with Jamie Holtom. If you liked what you heard today, please share it with a friend who may benefit from today's conversation. And if you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to this show and turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and we'll see you next time.